Bonjour, bonjour. Welcome to the new video in the grammar series Tout, monde, parle. And today we're going to be talking about verb tenses. In particular, we're going to look at le passé composé. Le passé composé is used to be able to speak in the past. So this is particularly designed for my Year 9 students who are learning for the first time how to construct language in French in the past, to be able to talk about and describe actions that have been completed, that are finished, that are done. And we're going to do that today by looking at a broad overview of the passé composé, just with using avoir. And for my students, that's all to become apparent as to why we're just going to use avoir today. But just so you know, it's the most default way of learning the passé composé first, and then I'll show you how to do the rest in another video. If I could ask you to take out your cahier et aussi un stylo ou un crayon. So also take out a pen or a pencil to be able to take down some notes during this video, and also so you can complete the exercises in the video as we're working our way through. So let's start. On commence. How do you speak in the past, and also why do you speak in the past? And that's the thing with language, is that we're able to break up our actions into time. So if it's an action that I'm completing now, like for example, I am speaking to you, or I speak, well, that's something that's happening right now. So that's what we've learnt up until now. We've learnt how to speak in the present tense, and that is to talk about actions that we're completing now, or actions that we complete on maybe a weekly basis or that are habitual. Now though, what we really want to do is to be able to say, hang on, if this action that we were doing is now complete, well, let's discuss about what's happening in the past. So we're now going to come to this section. We've finished talking about now, what happens now. I am speaking. So how in French do I now say I spoke, or I did, or I created a video? Let's take an example as something I like to do on Saturdays. So, le samedi, je vais à la pâtisserie et je mange un croissant. This is something I do every Saturday, so I'm likely to talk about this. When you're thinking of your own examples, you might like to think about something you do often, so you're easily going to be able to construct something using the past. This is in the present. It's something that I do. And for example, it's Saturday now, so yes, I am going to the patisserie. I go to the patisserie on Saturdays, and I eat a croissant. Now, it's the afternoon, and I already did this action. I completed this action this morning. So I'm not going to tell you about this in the present because I'm not currently doing it, or I'm not going to do it, or I'm not talking about the habitual action of doing it. I did it. It's finished. It's completed. So instead of saying je vais à la pâtisserie, because I've done it, and just so this is the masculine version, pretend I was a man, I would then say, all right, je suis allé, I went. I go in the present, created I went in the past. Je suis allé à la pâtisserie and I ate. Et j'ai mangé, not je mange, because that would be happening now, but j'ai mangé, I ate un croissant. Samedi, so this morning, Saturday, je suis allé, I went à la pâtisserie, to the patisserie, et j'ai mangé, I ate un croissant. It happened in the past. It is specifically an action that I finished, that I completed. I ate, I went, it's done. Sadly, I've now already eaten my croissant. There are no more croissants I allow myself to eat during the week. So I'll have to wait for next Saturday now, when je vais à la pâtisserie. but today je suis allé à la pâtisserie. Okay, so now actually let's look at what's going on here. You know, how are we going to form the past, the passé composé? How are we going to compose the past, the passé composé? As you can see, in English, I would say I went. So there's an extra word we're going to tuck in here in French. I ate. Here you see three components, not just two. So we're going to have three components in the past. Let's look at that a little bit more closely. We're going to do what I like to call the three-step. Now, I have no clue how to dance the three-step, but here's some gentlemen who do. And in technical words and grammatical words, when we use three components to form a verb, to form an action, for example, in the past in French, the passé composé, or in English we call this the simple past, but the passé composé, it has three steps involved in it. It's called a compound verb. We have to compound these three parts together to be able to present that information of saying, here I am, I'm talking in the past, this is something I did do, so I need the three steps here. Un, deux, trois. Okay, let's have a look. First step, we need to use the person or the thing that did the action. So that's called our subject pronoun. And as you recall, the subject pronoun always comes first. So it's using words such as je, tu, il, elle, on, nous, vous, il, elle. And we'll look at them a bit more closely. Now, second step is super, super important. It's called the auxiliary. Think of an auxiliary cable to be able to perhaps play music in your car. If you didn't have Bluetooth, you would need to get your mobile phone. You're going to stick a little cable in it. Then that auxiliary cable is going to connect to your car. We need that auxiliary cable to be able to play that music. Without the auxiliary cable, you wouldn't have music. So think of it in terms of the passé composé. Without the auxiliary verb, we wouldn't be able to form the past. And people wouldn't understand that we're using the past if we don't have this auxiliary here. So step number 2 is super important in French. For the passé composé, we need it. And the way we form this auxiliary is by either using avoir or être. So the, generic use will be avoir. When in doubt, use avoir, because we're going to find out which verbs, which actions go with être, and there's going to be a list to memorize. But I'll give you a second video about the verbs that go with être, because there's really good ways to learn which verbs they are. But we're just going to look at using avoir today to be able to learn the rules and for me to show you how to form things in the passé composé. So we have an auxiliary, and then of course what is our next super, super important step, number 3, is the actual action itself. So what did we do? What did we eat? What did we play? They had to have the main action there to actually talk about something we did in the past. And that is called the past participle. In English, the past participle is usually formed with adding ed on the end, I dance, I danced. Yeah, we've got the ed that we use at the end there. So we do a similar thing in French, which you're going to find out about. That's called the past participle. We have to change the spelling of the verb, change the way we say this verb. Okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. Let's have a look at what that looks like. So in English, a sentence like he ate. Well, in French, we need the 3 steps, not just 2. Il, he, a, our auxiliary, because now we're saying, hey, we're forming the past, we're forming the passé composé. We need the auxiliary, and then we need the past participle to go along with that to say this is the action we are doing in the past. He's doing it in the past, and this is what he is doing in the past. We need all 3 bits for it to make sense using the passé composé. In English, this is what it would look like. We've got the word he, the subject pronoun, followed by its auxiliary, which we don't need to use to form the past in English. So it's a good way to think of it. I need my auxiliary cable in French. I need my auxiliary cable for the French passé composé to be able to express a past action that's completed and finished and done. And then I need my action that I'm doing or that person's doing, and that's called the past participle. The reason why I want you to call it the past participle is because you have to remember that the verb ending has to change because it is an action that's done in the past, just like putting the ed on that action in English. All right, now let's have a look at how it changes for each subject pronoun. How does this three-step process look when we have to change the person or the thing that's doing the action? Let's conjugate it with our three-step process. And I'm just going to use the verb manger still, so to eat. We're going to use manger. This is what it looks like. So step number one, I want my subject pronoun because I'm going to change it now depending on who's doing the action. Then step number two, so the little cloud, the orange cloud, well, what's that? That's our auxiliary. So we need to connect auxiliary verb, and here it's using avoir. Then step three, I need to have my action. I need to have my past participle. Okay, so if I ate, j'ai mangé. If you ate, tu as mangé. If he, she, or one ate, il, elle, en a mangé. We ate, nous avons mangé. You all ate, or you formal ate, vous avez mangé. And they ate, ils ont mangé, or elles ont mangé, depending if you've got your group of girls or group of boys. So just have a look at that closely. So depending on who's doing the action, well, I'm going to have to change my auxiliary to match that. And it's all using avoir, remember, in this case. Because my action has stayed the same, I've changed the person, the subject pronoun, but I haven't changed what they're doing or what they did, manger. So that's not going to change yet. Let's have a little go now at trying to use avoir as our auxiliary, but not changing the action. So, well, let's have a look at an example using visiter. We're doing a unit on Paris, so this verb might come in use for you. Visiter, to visit. Okay, I'm going to let you have a go. How might I write or say I visited? So work out what the subject pronoun is there, who's doing the action, then work out which avoir conjugation goes with that subject. For example, j'ai, and then tack on the past participle. So how are you going to change er to give a similar ending to what we see for manger? Have a go, write it down. The answer is j'ai visité. So I've got my three components. I've got my subject pronoun j'ai, I've got my avoir auxiliary et, and I've got my past participle visiter, and with the e accent ending. Okay, have another go. How will I write or say she visited? I'll give you a few moments to work out who was doing the action, who was the subject pronoun, which avoir auxiliary I therefore need, and then how will I write my past participle? The answer is elle a visité. She visited. Three-step. Elle a visité. Okay, last one. We visited. The answer is nous, subject pronoun, nous avons, so I've got to put the liaison on there, the avoir auxiliary, and then finally the past participle visiter. All right, now I want to explore with you how I change step number 3. So we've worked out what happens when we change the subject. Now what happens if we want to change our verbs, sorry. We're not just going to eat and visit things, even though I enjoy that. J'ai visité Paris, j'ai mangé un croissant. Yeah, I went to Paris, I ate a croissant. Yeah, great actions to do. However, there are more that we want to explore in life. So when we change the verb, when we change the past participle, we're changing just this bit this time. Let's pretend we're going to a party. We're going to a past participle party. Oh, such good alliteration, isn't it? So we want to now start to change our actions. Now, what's really important is to understand that just this happens all the time in French, all the time in languages, let's just say. Of course, the ending is going to change if we consider it to be a regular change, but there's also some irregular changes, our, common ones like to be, to have, to do. They're all going to be irregular, and you're going to have to learn those ones off by heart. But let's go to the past participle party, so at least we're having a bit of fun while we're doing this. Let's have a look at the regular changes first. If our verb ends in er, well then, just like you've seen for manger, for visiter, you drop the er and you put a accent aigu, accent aigu, the sharp accent. If your verb ends with an re, well then you're going to drop off the re, put a u. If it ends in ir, then you're going to take off the ir, put an I. That's it. There's 3 verbs down there for you to see how that happens. Manger, drop off the er, put a accent. Manger, so you have to pronounce them the same way. Spelled differently though, and remember it's part of the 3-step. Perdre, to lose, ends with re. So you got lost getting to the party. You're going to use this ending. Perdu, perdu. Then after the party, we're going to sleep pretty well. Dormir. And that drops the ir, and we put an I. Dormi. Now there are regular endings for our past participles, and they're going to apply most of the time. I mean, there are thousands of verbs that we'll have in our vocabulary one day, and most of them are going to follow these rules. But however, there are irregular past participles that we will have to learn. So I'm going to show you a list of the ones that I want you to know. Let's start off with the ones that have the U endings to them. So now I'm going to categorize them in sound. So for example, if you want to say I had, I would say j'ai eu, ends with a U. What about I drank? J'ai bu. Bu. What about if I want to say I knew? J'ai connu. So they all end in U endings. So here's a bit of a list there for you to learn. There are also some that end with an IS, and nicely they kind of go with similar actions. So if I put something down, j'ai mis. Okay? If I want to take that object or took, j'ai pris. J'ai mis, j'ai pris. IS endings. What about the ones with IT at the end? Conduit, I drove. I said, j'ai dit. J'ai écrit, I wrote. And then we have some that are just a bit random. They're not going to fit into a sound category. I was, j'ai été, I did, j'ai fait. I opened, j'ai ouvert. And then I offered, j'ai offert. Now, as I said, these have to be memorized. So for us to actually be able to use them for future classes, for our future self, we do need to memorize them. They just need to be chunks in your head ready to use. Let's now put these into practice. Let's have a go at trying to change both our subject pronoun. So now what we want to do, is that subject pronoun with its avoir auxiliary, with its past participle. So there are a few changes to consider when we're looking at the passé composé. Like I said, always think about your 3-step. Subject pronoun, avoir auxiliary, and then the past participle. What action is it? Let's have a go. In the next lesson, that's when we'll be talking about, instead of subject pronoun avoir auxiliary, we're going to look at subject pronoun être auxiliary. And there's going to be a list of past participles that want to be with être and cannot be with avoir. So I want to look at that in the next video. Let's have a go at forming the passé composé with avoir together, or by yourself in this sense. So I'm going to put up a few questions here, and you're going to translate them into French, into the passé composé. Let's picture that we're at a party, à la fête, and they're going to be, or that we, went to a party yesterday perhaps, and now we want to talk about it in the past. What did you do at this party? I ate. Okay, I'm put the verb there for you just in case you've forgotten. I would like you to now try to form, if you can remember, with 3-step, how to write in the passé composé, I ate. Have you got your 3 steps there? Subject pronoun, auxiliary, past participle. The answer is j'ai mangé. J'ai mangé. Let's have a look at another one. I'm going to keep it quite regular to begin with. You, just one person, singular, danced. You danced last night. Now we want our 3 steps here, so gather your subject pronoun, put your avoir auxiliary with that subject pronoun, and then with the verb danser, put that into its past participle. And what answer does that give us? Tu as dansé. 3 parts. Tu as dansé. Have a go with this one. We spoke, using the action, so spoke is parler. Gather your subject pronoun, match it with its avoir auxiliary, and now add the past participle. Parler is an ER ending, and it's regular. What does that mean? Nous avons parlé. We spoke. 3 parts. Nous avons parlé. Number 4, we're going to make this a little bit harder now. Let's see what happens when we got an irregular past participle. He did a speech. So let's use faire. Now faire is irregular. Let's see if you can remember from the list before. We've got our subject pronoun. Match the avoir auxiliary with the subject pronoun. Then add the past participle. A speech, un speech. Or un discours. He did a speech. Il a fait un speech. And let's do one more together. They slept. Then at the end, we all went home. We slept. It was a good night. They, don't mind if you use, you could use either subject pronoun that's available, the masculine or the feminine. Match that with your avoir auxiliary, and then put your past participle. Now, dormir, to sleep, is regular. Okay, so it's just going to follow the normal rules for IR ending. Let's see if you can remember what that is. Ils ont dormi. Ils ont dormi. 3 parts. Now this is what I need you to do. You really need to practice and memorize these components. Firstly, you need to be able to conjugate avoir to go with the subject pronoun. So depending on who's doing the action, is it j'ai? Is it tu as? Is it nous avons? Is it il a? Is it ils ont? Yeah, you need to know avoir off by heart, ready to go. You also need to learn the regular rule for forming the past participle, the idea of ER verbs just becoming E accent, RE verbs just becoming U, and I are verbs just becoming I. And that's going to form the past participle. So we're changing it from the infinitive verb to its past participle. You're also going to need to learn that list of irregular past participles because they don't follow the rule. You also need to know which ones are irregular. And the only way to know which ones are irregular is to use this little noggin. Use your brain up there, start practicing and start memorizing those. So with your notes, you're going to want to gather all this information from the video. You may also wish to do some extra research. Of course, if you're not one of my students, pop some comments below and I'll get back to you. And if you're one of my students, get in touch and I'll be quizzing you in the next class anyway. Merci bien et bonne journée. À bientôt.